Hi, and welcome back to another episode of Mr. M Rocks. This is lesson 4. In this lesson, we're going to do a couple of things. In the tower game menu view, we're going to add that view now and add some buttons to the view. And then we're going to add some buttons to the menu area in the level 1 game view. So we have a tower, we have a menu view, which is a separate view from the game view, and then inside the lesson 1 game view, or the level 1 game view rather, we're going to go ahead and put tiles inside the menu area. So to do this is going to be a lot about buttons and tiles. And so the first thing is, when I come in here, I'm going to set the size of the view just like I did before. Notice that menu view, or tower game menu view, extends gcontainer. So we should be pretty used to this by now. And I'm going to set the size as before, because every view in my game is going to have the same size. And this is going to be 900 by 700. So I don't suppose it matters so much. A lot of games that you see on the internet are smaller than this. But 900 by 700 allows me to have the artwork at a level that I happen to like it. So I put it at that level. You can make it larger or smaller, but I think it should be consistent throughout each of the different views. In any case, at this point, I need to do the same things I did before, so I'm going to do a menu view. So first of all, I have a menu background, and this is going to be just a G-sprite. But to put it in, I'll say menu BG, or MBG, is equal to new, and I have menu background. And this again is going to be a class that I have not yet created. And when I create this class, I think this is going to be our first class that extends GSprite. And so it'll be a little bit simpler in some ways than what we've done before. But I won't do that right now. First of all, I want to come down and I will add this at center. So I'll say add at center, which is in JGame. This is one of William's classes. So it'll simply add that at the center. When I set this up, the registration point now is going to be right at the middle. That's the default. So since I don't have to worry about placing it within any place, let's say within my menu view, it's just going to take up the whole background. I can leave the registration at the center and just say add at center, and that makes that operation a little bit easier. Now I'm going to add some buttons. I'm going to add, maybe I'll just add one button to begin with, but first of all, this is going to be a G-sprite, and I'll show you what these look like over in the resource menu in a minute, but I need to have 3 sprites associated with each button. I don't have to, actually. I can have less than that, but I'm going to have 3. One is called none, one is called pressed, and one is called hover. So I get 3 different states for the button. When it's just sitting there, my mouse is nowhere near it, it's going to be none. And then when I hover the mouse over it, it'll change color. And then when I press it, it'll change to a 3rd color. And I'll show you what that looks like in a minute. So the first one is none, and I'm going to say underscore IMG to indicate this is my image. And this is going to be a new G-sprite. And this sprite is going to have to get an image. And so the image is using the same thing I did before. I'm going to say image cache. And so according to what I set up in the original main method, I set up my cache there. So it knows where to look, and then I simply say get image, and I can hit that, oops, get image. And the file name for this image is going to be in the buttons folder. So it'll say, I'll say buttons and then slash, and I have a image called play none .png. So I created these. I happen to create them in Illustrator, as a matter of fact. Saved them for the web, and saved them as PNG. So play none is the first one. And I'm going to do the same thing for each of my background images. I haven't actually created the button yet, but just to set this up, I'll create 3 of these. I have none IMG. I have, let's see, play. No, I have hover. And I have pressed. So I'll set those guys up here. Pressed, obviously, is for when I click on the button. So those three images, and then I have to associate them here. So play none, play hover, and play pressed. So that sets up, or that's going to associate my three button states with a particular G-sprite. And let me show you what these look like. If I come over to my buttons folder, which is right here, and click on these, this is what my button looks like. So I have play hover, play none. So when I just have this thing on the stage, it's going to look like this. A little green button has a little highlight, so it looks like a little glass button. When I hover over it, it'll change to yellowish, and then when I press it, it'll change to a purple button. It's the same image, I just changed the colors, and that is simple. In any case, at this point, once I have these guys done, I need to, let's see, why am I getting a red X? Let's see. Equals. So I want to say equals, equals, and equals. Okay, good. And up here, these guys are still strange because this guy doesn't have anything to add yet. So I'm going to add it center MBG, but it's still not okay because I haven't created these classes yet. I'll do that in just a moment. Let's finish with this guy. And the next thing I need to do is I need to create a button. So I'll call this G button. And I will call this my play button. I'll just say underscore play underscore BTN, and that's going to be equal to, and I'll set up a new G button and parentheses, and that guy is set to go. And then all I have to do is set the states. So once I've got these G sprites set up, then I can apply them to my button state. So I set up my sprites, I set up this particular button, and now to set up my button states, I'm going to say play underscore BTN, and I'm going to say set state sprite, set state sprite, and the button state is going to be button state dot none, and that's all going to be in caps, none, and the sprite that I want to have for this one is none.img, and so I can put that in like so. Make sure I have my semicolon, and now I've created my button and I've set a particular button state with this set state sprite method. And so I'm going to do the same thing for the other two. I have button state hovered, again all caps, so hovered is good, and I didn't put that on caps, so let's try that again. Hovered, and then I have pressed, so I'll say pressed, and I need to, without cap locks on, say hovered here, hover.img, whatever I have up here, I'll copy that and paste that down, and whatever I have here, I will copy that and paste that down as well. So good. So that looks pretty good to go. The only thing I need to do now is add it, and so I've got my button created, I've got it set up to its three states according to the three images that I've created, and now I need to simply say add at. And when I say add at, I've got to tell it where to go. So I'm going to add at, and I'm going to tell it what the object is, which is going to be play button. And let's say I put it at 100, 100. Okay. At this point, this should be pretty well good to go, except I still don't have my background. We don't need a background to actually try this, so let me comment that out for a minute, and let's just see if this works. I don't have a background made, actually. What I have instead is I again downloaded something from the internet, but we'll just fix that later on. So, oh, this is not going to work because, oh, incidentally, I did change. I just drew a quick background for my game, but the reason I didn't go into the menu is that I look up here back in, let's see, this is menu. Back here, I've got this guy commented out. So now when I come in here and I say save, I play this, I should go into my view, my menu view first. And as I go into my menu view, I notice I have my button and it has those three states. So that's the none, hovered, and that. So it's a nice little glass button. This took about 90 seconds to make. Maybe at the end of the tutorial I'll put in a little appendix that tells you how I've made some of these images, but quite frankly there's tons of lessons on the internet that tell you how to make glass buttons, and they are just about as easy as they can be. Okay, having done that, if I want to add 3 buttons, not much more difficult. Now that I've made the first one, all I have to do is simply say, let's see, add at, and I actually could create 3 buttons. So for instance, here I've got this guy made. I could create a couple more of these, and all I have to do is say, instead of play button, maybe I have instructions button, instructions, and I can also have the others, but I'm gonna save that for later. It's actually just repeating the same thing. The one other thing that I really should do in this lesson, though, is I'm going to add a button listener. And so a button listener is going to listen for whatever I tell it to listen for. In this case, I'm going to add a to the play button. I'm going to add a click listener. So first of all, I have to add it to play_btn. That's what I'm adding the listener to. And it's going to be a new button listener. So it is a class, parentheses. If I say good, I'm going to hit Control-Shift-O to make sure I have that imported, and button listener. So that looks good, and at this point I want to come down here and I want to set it up as a button listener. So let's set that up again. I'm going to say Control-Shift-O. And I need to set this up. Okay, so at this point I'm going to set up a mouse clicked listener. So I can set up, let's say, mouse over, mouse out, mouse down. I want to find mouse clicked. Mouse clicked is right here. So I can set that up. And thought it was going to do it for me, and it will do it for me. I must be forgetting something, but I will come back. Oh, I should say equals. Not doing it. Okay, we'll come back to it. In any case, this is pretty good. I do need to also have my background, so let's set that guy up right now. All I need to do here is say create this class, and when I create the class, in this case I'm not going to extend G container, but I'm going to extend G sprite. This is simply going to be a background object. I don't need any of the functionality of a G container, so I've got G sprite, and I can say finish, and I'm good to go. Again, I'm going to hit Control space, and I'll get my default constructor. And the only thing that I'm going to add in here is I'm going to add the statement super, and the super is that when I extend GSprite, so the super object or the super class for this is GSprite. And so when I create this, if I use the keyword super as the very first line in the function, or the method rather, I can send it a parameter. And the parameter that I'm going to send it, if I look up GSprite, by the way, I should be able to hit F3, and it will tell me that this guy not only extends GObject, it implements this, and it takes in a GSprite as a shape. Oh, let's get bounding shape. Let's see. This is GSprite, and it apparently I'm not looking in the right place. So let's come back. So GSprite is going to simply take in here a parameter. And so what I'll send it is I will send it a sprite, and to get the sprite I'm just going to grab one from the menu. But all I have to do is say image cache get image, and it's going to return the image that I want. So image cache and dot get image. And I have to tell it where it is, and the image that I want to get is, let's see, probably in areas, menu background. I think it's this one, so it's right in TG images. So all I have to do in here is say menu background. And if I have spelled that, no, it's menu BG. .png, and that should be good to go. Let's see if this is working. Now I do have some problems down here. It says it's going to comment all of this out. So the button listener is not yet attached. I'll go in and take a look at that. But for right now, let's see if this will actually work as it is. No. Okay, so this says I've got a problem here. Super image cache dot get image menu bg.png, and I forgot my end quote. So let's try that again. And at this point, it's thinking about it. Looks like I've got it. Good. And so that is good. So that's my background. That is my button. I'll create a series of buttons. The button won't actually do anything. It's set up to have its 3 states, but it's not going to do anything until I get my click listener to work, and I'm not sure what's going on, so I'll have to sit down and figure that out. But at this point, before we go on with that, let's go ahead now and do our tile menu. Okay, we're going to go ahead now, and we are going to go back into our menu area. Now remember, this is an area that's placed inside the Tower Game level 1 view. So this is the first level where we're playing our game, and it has 3 areas. It has a play area, it has a menu area, and it has an information area. And right now we're in the menu area, that left-hand side, and what I want to do is place 5 tiles. And I'm going to do this by using a for loop. And I want 5 tiles. I'm going to have the same tile, but I want to go in 5 places. And so a for loop would actually do this very nicely, although we could do it by just hard coding in the location of each of these. But we're going to use this index I in a couple of places. One, we're going to use it to choose the location of each tile, and then we're going to use it a second time to choose which image we're placing on each tile. So this will save us a little bit of code. So a for loop in Java is int. In this case, I'll have an index I. Int I is equal to 0, and I is less than, let's say, I'll just say 5 at this point, but later on I should probably say something like max turrets. In any case, I don't have that yet, but we'll go ahead and make those kinds of changes later on in the game. And so I is less than 5, and we're going to say I++. And all I'm going to do is call a function called setTile. So setTile, and I'm going to pass it the single parameter I, so I'll go like that. SetTile I. Now I get a red underscore there because setTile does not exist, and so I need to come after this method, and outside this method I'm going to create a function. So I'll say private. I'm not going to return anything. Its name is setTile, and it does receive a parameter, And the parameter that it's going to receive is an int, and I'll just go ahead and keep the name I for right now. Alright, so now this guy is ready to go. And so what I want to do in this case is I want to create a tile. So I'm going to say tile, tile equals new tile. Now again, I do not have my tile made. My tile class does not yet exist. So we're going to have to set that up. But until I do, I'll get that red underline. And then I'll say tile dot set anchor. And I guess I'll go ahead and say top left again, so I just know where or how to locate this. Now, since I'm writing this inside menu area, the reference top left is going to be to the tile, but it's going to be placed within the object menu area. So the coordinate system is based on that local object rather than inside the entire view as it was before. And in any case, now I'll say tile set, and I can say set set x, and all I want to do is when I set this is I want to tell it where the x coordinate is going to be, and it's going to be a multiple of I. So the first time I is 0, so I'll say I think the width was about 95, so I'll just start off with 95 times I, and I'll add to that let's say plus 15. Now again, I don't need set x, I need set y. So I've got tile, and I should have set y as a method, so I say dot set y, and now I'm setting that. Now I still have this red x because tile does not exist, so let's just take a moment and set that up. I'll say create the tile class, and the tile class is going to extend something new that we haven't set up before, and what we're going to use this time is G button. And notice it comes up, and I can say finish, and so now I've created this, and I can go ahead and say default constructor and get rid of the generic comment, and now this guy is ready to go. I do want to add an image to this, and so I'm going to do kind of the same thing I did before. I'm going to set the size of this to, I think, maybe 90/90. We'll try that. We'll go back and adjust this as need be in a little bit. But first of all, we set the size, and I need to set up GSprite the same way I did before. So rather than go through that, I'll go ahead and stop, type all that in, and just show you the results for the sake of time. Okay, so I've added the necessary code to set up the button, and I just have, again, 3 images. I have, this is state none, state hover, and state pressed. I've got 3 different images, one for each of those, and then I have over here I set state sprite. Now notice I don't have the name of the button here. That's because I am inside the tile, so I'm really making the tile itself a button. This would be in effect the same as saying this dot, but you don't need the keyword this, so I'll leave that off, and so I'll simply say set state sprite, or this set state sprite button none is equal to this image, and so I set the image equal to the state name, and I use the state name to set up each of the 3 button states that I'm using. Now there is one other thing that I forgot to mention back over here, and that is that when you create the new tile, you set the anchor. I set the scale of this to 0.9, so 90% of its original, because I made it a little bit too large. The X again refers to within that little green strip, the menu area. I'm moving it over on the X 4 pixels, but Y I'm changing it by 110 times I. So when I is 0, I come into my for loop, I is 0, so I'm sending a 0. That's 110 times 0 is 0 plus 25. I'm simply going to have the location over 4 down 25, and then I add the tile. And so now I'll have these 5 tiles set up, and each of the 5 tiles will have those 3 button states. If I were to run the program right now, this is what I would get. And I think it's going to run. We'll go ahead and see 5 tiles, Each one is got its 3 button states. They don't have any click listeners associated with them right now. And I still have that bug in the click listener in the other one, but I'll come back and start the next video with the solution to whatever is causing that problem. So that's it for tonight. Bye-bye.